On my wedding day, my fiancé's mother did the unthinkable. She humiliated me in front of everyone, creating a deliberate scene to sabotage my marriage. But when her plan failed, and I stood my ground, her face turned red with rage. Then, out of nowhere, she pulled out a spray bottle and unleashed it directly on my face, a spray that left me in unbearable pain. What happened next was shocking, more than I could have ever imagined. It was a moment that changed everything. Hello, my name is Maya, and I am 27 years old. This is the story of how I found love, faced heartbreak, and stood up for myself in ways I never thought I could. At the time, I worked as a graphic designer in Dallas, Texas, balancing long hours at work with dreams of building a bright future. I met Ryan, a 29-year-old project manager, at a small cafe I frequented during my lunch breaks. One sunny afternoon, I was juggling a tray with my coffee and a sandwich when I accidentally bumped into him, spilling my drink on his shirt. "I'm so sorry," I said, utterly mortified. He laughed, his voice warm and kind. "It's okay. Maybe the shirt needed a little excitement." We ended up sitting at the same table, sharing a laugh about the incident. What started as a casual conversation turned into an hour-long chat about our jobs, our dreams, and even our love for hiking. Ryan was charming, intelligent, and had a kindness in his eyes that made me feel at ease. After that day, Ryan kept returning to the cafe at the same time, hoping to run into me again. Eventually, he asked me out, and I agreed, feeling butterflies in my stomach. Our first date was a casual dinner, but it was perfect. Over the next few months, our bond grew stronger. I could see a future with him, something I hadn't felt with anyone else before. After 6 wonderful months of dating, Ryan decided it was time for me to meet his mother. Although I was excited, I couldn't shake the nervousness. Ryan had always spoken highly of his mother, Elaine, but I could sense a hesitation in his tone whenever the topic of me meeting her came up. The day finally arrived, and we drove to her house in a quiet, upscale neighborhood in Houston, Texas. As we pulled up to the driveway, I took a deep breath, smoothing my dress and mentally preparing myself. Elaine greeted us at the door, her sharp, discerning eyes scanning me from head to toe. She was an elegant woman in her mid-50s, with perfectly styled hair and a demeanor that exuded authority. Her polite smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "So you're Maya," she said, her voice cool and measured. "Ryan's mentioned you briefly." I smiled nervously and extended my hand. "It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Carter." Her handshake was firm but distant. "Please call me Elaine." The rest of the visit was a delicate balancing act. Elaine asked me several pointed questions about my job and my family, each one laced with subtle judgment. When I told her about my work as a graphic designer, she raised an eyebrow. "HM. A creative field," she said. "Not exactly stable, though, is it?" I felt my cheeks flush, but managed to respond calmly. "It's something I'm passionate about, and I've worked hard to build my career." Ryan noticed the tension and tried to steer the conversation toward lighter topics, but Elaine's disapproval was unmistakable. By the time we left, I felt drained and disheartened. "She doesn't like me," I told Ryan as we drove away. "She just needs time," he reassured me. "She'll come around once she gets to know you." Despite the rocky start with Elaine, my relationship with Ryan continued to flourish. Over the next few months, we spent more time together, and he became even more certain about taking the next step, marriage. However, Elaine's disapproval was a constant shadow over our happiness. Ryan eventually decided to have a serious conversation with his mother. One evening, after dinner at her home, he brought up his intentions to propose to me. "Mom," he began, his tone calm but firm, "I need to talk to you about Maya. I love her, and I've decided to ask her to marry me." Elaine's expression tightened. "Ryan, don't be hasty. Marriage is a serious commitment, and frankly, I don't think Maya is the right fit for this family." "Mom," Ryan said, his voice rising slightly, "you've barely given her a chance. She's intelligent, hardworking, and kind. You haven't even tried to get to know her." Elaine sighed, placing her fork down. "Ryan, I only want what's best for you. Marriage isn't just about love. It's about compatibility, lifestyle, background, values. Maya may be a nice girl, but she doesn't come from the same standing as us. Ryan stood his ground. I don't care about any of that. I care about who she is as a person, and she makes me happy. Isn't that what you want for me? Elaine looked at him for a long moment before reluctantly nodding. If this is what you've decided, I won't stand in your way, she said, though her tone was far from enthusiastic. But don't expect me to pretend I approve. Ryan knew this wasn't ideal, but it was the best he could get from her for now. He proposed to me the following weekend in the most beautiful and heartfelt way, and I said yes, without hesitation. I was overjoyed, but I couldn't ignore the lingering tension with Elaine. The day of our wedding was a beautiful spring morning in Austin, Texas, and I was filled with excitement and nervous anticipation. The ceremony venue was elegantly decorated, with flowers lining the aisle and soft music playing in the background. Ryan and I had chosen an intimate gathering of close family and friends to celebrate our love. As I got ready in the bridal suite, Elaine's presence weighed on my mind. Despite her initial reluctance, she had agreed to attend the wedding. I told myself that her opinion didn't matter as long as I had Ryan by my side. But deep down, I feared she might create a scene. My fears came true during the reception. The event was in full swing, and everything seemed perfect until Elaine approached the table where the gift envelopes were being collected. She picked up the small box where guests had been dropping monetary gifts and began inspecting it. "These are all the monetary gifts?" she asked loudly, drawing attention from nearby guests. Ryan and I exchanged confused looks. "Yes, Mom," he replied. "Why?" She fixed me with a sharp stare. "Traditionally, all monetary gifts from the wedding belong to the groom's family. It's a sign of respect for the family that raised him." I blinked, stunned. "Elaine, that's not how we planned it. The money is meant for Ryan and me to build our future together." Elaine's expression hardened. "That's not how it works in our family," she said coldly. "You're marrying into the Carters, and you should respect our traditions. This $20,000 isn't yours." Her words carried through the room, and I could feel the eyes of our guests turning toward us. My face flushed with embarrassment, but I stood my ground. "With all due respect, Elaine," I said, keeping my voice steady, "these gifts were given to us as a couple. Ryan and I will decide how to use them." Ryan stepped forward, placing a protective arm around me. "Mom, let it go. This is our day, and the gifts are for us. Please don't ruin this moment." But Elaine was already fuming. Her face contorted with anger as she reached into her bag and pulled out a small spray bottle. "You think you can take what's mine and walk away?" she snapped. Before anyone could react, she sprayed the substance directly on my face. A sharp burning sensation spread across my cheeks and eyes. I stumbled backward, gasping in pain as my skin turned red and swollen. Tears streamed down my face as I cried out, the burning becoming unbearable. Ryan caught me before I could fall. "Maya," he shouted, panic and fury in his voice. "What the hell is wrong with you, Mom?" Elaine stood frozen, the spray bottle still in her hand, as gasps and murmurs filled the room. Guests rushed forward to help, but Ryan was already guiding me toward the exit. "This isn't over," Ryan said to his mother, his voice cold with anger. "You'll pay for this." Ryan rushed me to the nearest hospital, my face still burning from the spray. Tears streamed down my cheeks, and the swelling made it difficult to see clearly. I clung to his arm, my heart pounding from pain and shock. When we arrived at the hospital, the staff immediately attended to me. A nurse gently cleaned my face and applied a soothing ointment while the doctor examined the reaction. "You're experiencing a severe allergic reaction to whatever substance was sprayed on your face," the doctor explained. "We'll give you medication to reduce the swelling and manage the pain, but you'll need to rest for a few days." Ryan sat beside me, holding my hand tightly, his face a mixture of anger and worry. "Who would do this to you, Maya?" the doctor asked. "My mother-in-law," I replied, my voice hoarse. She sprayed something on my face during our wedding reception." The doctor's expression darkened. "You should report this to the authorities. This isn't just assault, it's outright cruelty." Ryan nodded firmly. "Don't worry. She won't get away with this. After ensuring I was stable, Ryan stepped out of the room to make a call. When he returned, his expression was grim but resolute. "The police are on their way," he said. "Mama's crossed a line, and she needs to be held accountable." Later that evening, 2 police officers arrived at the hospital to take my statement. I recounted the events in detail, explaining how Elaine had caused a scene over the $20,000 wedding gifts and escalated the argument by using the spray. "She brought that spray with her intentionally," I said, my voice trembling. "This wasn't an accident, it was planned." Ryan backed me up, providing his own account of the incident and the guests who had witnessed it. The officers assured us that they would investigate and take appropriate action. "She could face charges for assault and intentional harm," one of the officers explained. "We'll also collect the spray bottle as evidence." The next morning, as I rested at home with Ryan by my side, we received a call from the police. They had already questioned Elaine, who initially tried to downplay the incident, claiming it was a misunderstanding. However, the guests' testimonies and the spray bottle's contents left no doubt about her intent. Ryan's jaw tightened as he ended the call. "She's being charged, Maya. Assault with intent to harm. She'll have to face the consequences." Despite my pain, a sense of relief washed over me. Elaine's actions had caused me so much suffering, but justice was finally within reach. A week after the incident, Elaine faced her first court hearing. The evidence was overwhelming: testimonies from guests, the spray bottle containing the allergenic substance, and medical reports documenting my injuries left no room for doubt. The judge listened to the case carefully, acknowledging the gravity of Elaine's actions. "This is not just a family dispute," the judge said sternly. "This was a calculated act of harm meant to inflict pain and humiliation on the victim." Elaine was found guilty of assault with intent to cause bodily harm. She was sentenced to 6 months in prison and fined $10,000 for the damages. The judge also issued a restraining order, prohibiting her from contacting me or attending any future family events without prior consent. As Elaine faced the consequences of her actions, I focused on healing, physically and emotionally. The swelling on my face gradually reduced, but the emotional scars took longer to mend. Ryan was my rock during this time, constantly reassuring me that none of this was my fault. "You're stronger than you think, Maya," he said one evening as we sat on the couch. "We've been through so much, but we're still standing. I'll always protect you, no matter what." His unwavering support reminded me why I had fallen in love with him in the first place. Despite the chaos surrounding the wedding, Ryan and I decided to move forward with our lives. A month after Elaine's sentencing, we held a small, private ceremony with only our closest friends and family. It was simple but beautiful, filled with love and joy, everything our first wedding should have been. As we exchanged vows, I felt a sense of closure. The pain and humiliation caused by Elaine no longer defined us. We were stronger than ever, ready to start this new chapter together. Months turned into a year, and life for Ryan and me had settled into a beautiful rhythm. Our small ceremony had given us the fresh start we desperately needed, and we were finally able to focus on building our future. I had even begun volunteering with an advocacy group, sharing my story to help others. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly at peace. But that peace was tested when Ryan received a letter one afternoon. He walked into the living room, the envelope in his hand, his face a mix of confusion and tension. "It's from my mom," he said, sitting down beside me. I froze. Elaine. It had been a year since her sentencing, and during that time, we had no contact with her. Her presence, or lack thereof, had allowed us to heal. I could still remember the sting of the spray and the humiliation she had caused me on what should have been the happiest day of my life. "What does she want?" I asked, my voice cautious. Ryan opened the letter and read it silently before handing it to me. Elaine had written about her regret, claiming she had time to reflect on her actions while in prison. She apologized for her behavior, writing, "I now realize how wrong I was, and I deeply regret the pain I caused you both. I want to make amends and hope to be part of your lives again." I looked up at Ryan. "Do you think she's serious?" He sighed, rubbing his temples. I don't know. This doesn't erase what she did, Maya. But she's still my mom. I don't know if I can just ignore her. The letter left us both conflicted. Ryan wanted to believe that his mother had changed, but I couldn't forget the pain she had caused me. The memory of her actions still lingered like a shadow over our lives. For days, we debated whether to respond. I don't want her to hurt us again, I said one evening, my voice trembling. But I also don't want to be the reason you lose your mother forever. Ryan nodded, his eyes filled with empathy. I understand. But if there's even a chance she's genuine, maybe it's worth giving her a chance. Not for her, but for us. Finally, we agreed to meet her, but on our terms. I insisted it happen in a neutral, public place, with clear boundaries set beforehand. We met Elaine at a quiet cafe in the heart of the city. She looked different, less composed, her once flawless appearance softened by the passage of time and her experiences. When she saw us, she stood up nervously, her hands clasped together. Maya, Ryan, she began, her voice trembling. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. We sat down, and for a moment, there was only silence. Finally, Elaine spoke. I know I can't undo what I did, she said, her eyes welling with tears. I was blinded by my pride and my own insecurities. I lashed out at you, Maya, because I felt like I was losing my son. But I see now how wrong I was. You're a wonderful woman, and Ryan is lucky to have you. Her words surprised me. They felt genuine, but the pain of the past was still fresh. Elaine, I said, my voice steady, what you did was more than a mistake. You hurt me deeply, not just physically but emotionally. It's not something I can easily forget. Elaine nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. I don't expect forgiveness overnight. I just want a chance to show you I can be better. Ryan turned to me, his expression conflicted. This was a moment we hadn't fully prepared for. The decision was mine to make, whether to allow Elaine back into our lives or to maintain the distance that had given us peace. I took a deep breath, steadying myself as Elaine's words lingered in the air. Ryan sat beside me, waiting for my response, his hand gently resting on mine. The weight of the decision pressed on me. I could see the genuine regret in her eyes, but the scars of her actions still felt fresh. Elaine, I began, my voice firm but not unkind, forgiveness isn't something that comes easily. What you did caused so much pain, not just to me but to Ryan as well. You almost broke us. But I paused, glancing at Ryan, who gave me a small, encouraging nod. I'm willing to give you a chance to prove yourself. That doesn't mean everything is forgotten, but it means we're willing to start somewhere. On one condition, there will be clear boundaries. If you ever disrespect or hurt us again, there will be no second chances. Elaine wiped her tears with trembling hands, nodding vigorously. Thank you, Maya. I promise you, I'll do everything I can to make this right. The first few months after the meeting were cautious but hopeful. Elaine respected our boundaries, keeping her interactions with us light and infrequent. She wrote letters of apology, not just to me but also to Ryan, acknowledging how her actions had hurt him as well. She even sought therapy to address her issues, something Ryan later told me was a major step for her. While I wasn't ready to completely trust her, I appreciated her efforts to change. 6 months after Elaine's release, Ryan and I hosted a small dinner to celebrate our first anniversary as a married couple. It was the first family gathering we'd had since the incident, and I was hesitant about inviting Elaine. But Ryan assured me she'd been on her best behavior and genuinely wanted to celebrate with us. Elaine arrived with a thoughtful gift, a scrapbook of our wedding photos and memories, something I never thought I'd see from her. I know our wedding day didn't go as planned, she said quietly, but I wanted to honor the love you two share. Her gesture brought tears to my eyes. It wasn't perfect and it didn't erase the past, but it was a step toward healing. Over time, Elaine's efforts to rebuild our relationship bore fruit. While I remained cautious, I began to see glimpses of a different side of her, a woman who was trying to learn from her mistakes and mend the bonds she had almost destroyed. It wasn't a perfect fairy tale ending, but it was a beginning. Ryan and I continued to grow in our love and partnership. The hardships we faced only strengthened our resolve to build a life rooted in respect and kindness. Together, we learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but finding a way to move forward without letting the past define us. Elaine's reconciliation wasn't easy, but it taught me that sometimes, even the deepest wounds can heal with time, effort, and boundaries. As Ryan and I looked ahead to our future, we knew we had built something unshakable, a life filled with love, trust, and the resilience to face anything together. Thank you for reading this story. It's a journey of love, resilience, and forgiveness, showing that even in the darkest moments, there's a chance for healing and new beginnings. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to show your support. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your feelings, feedback, or similar experiences in the comments section below. Your input means so much to us. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories like this, filled with drama, lessons, and inspiration. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of our community.